Hello Rustenburg, how's it? I see you guys are really keen to have this live stream video. We're just keeping an eye as we're doing the countdown there. Rick, we see you, congratulations, you're first with the comments. Francois, just a little bit too slow. Who else is there? Arde Figueredo, is that how to pronounce it? Lizette, Francois, Yaku, Paul, Sis. Hello to everybody that's commented already, and hello to you as well if you've just joined us. My name is John Carricker. Bit of background about me. I'm from radio station SAFM. I also do the live streaming that you're seeing now as well. It's fantastic to be with you in this virtual town hall. So much to get through in the next half hour, 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on your questions. And that's why we're doing this. It's got to do with your questions. We're here to answer questions for you. I'm here with Bradley Becker, and Bradley's going to be able to answer questions. First of all, who is Bradley Becker? Sorry, wait, before we do that, let's take off these masks. We are socially distanced, as you can see. So let's do that. There we go. That's just a little bit better. Hello, how's it?
Good in yourself, John.
Lekker, who are you?
As John mentioned, my name's Bradley. I'm head of business development at Evotel. So I look after anything from community-related things, sales, marketing, and all the cool initiatives that Evotel does as well.
Okay, so Bradley's the man who's going to be answering your questions this evening. We're gonna try and give you a little presentation at the beginning, explain to you one or two things. But if there are any questions, please leave them in the comments below, as Paul has done, as Sis has done, as Nelly has done as well. If you have any questions already, you can start bashing them out, and we will get to them. We've got a team of people in the back room that are making sure the questions are being read. If it's something that we can't answer, we will give you details, we'll give you a website or whatever that might be. We'll make sure that those questions are answered. So get typing on the comments below. They might be below, they might be on the side, on top, wherever they might be. All right, so let's get into it. Bradley, thanks very much for joining us. Lots to get through. First of all, we're talking Evotel. People have been signing into the Evotel website, and they're obviously following us on Facebook and YouTube as well. Who is Evotel?
John, Evotel is a fibre to the home network provider. We've been connecting homes since 2015. We've grown substantially over the last 5 years, and we deliver a stable and uncompromised fibre network to all homes. This ranges from your single dwelling units up until your complexes. So we connect as many people as we possibly can. And we deliver, line speeds from anything from a 5 megabits per second line up to a 1 gigabits per second line. So the freedom of choice is there. It's great to have the flexibility in choosing the right package for you and your family.
Okay, so fiber to the home, you're supplying, like a little strand or something that connects my home to the internet.
Correct.
That's what you do.
We're providing, the latest form of fiber technology. It's the fastest form of internet, which we'll also unpack, a little bit further down the line in terms of, the benefits of fiber. But we basically provide, the latest technology of internet technology, and it's essentially, as thin as a strand of hair, and it just transmits data from one point to the next, utilizing light.
Okay, we're going to find out a little bit more what fiber is, but the one thing you did mention is open access. What do you mean by Evotel is open access?
So an open access network is essentially just a network where we allow as many service providers that wish to provide a data service on our network. We give them the opportunity to provide that to end users. Currently we have 23 great ISPs on our network, and that list grows every single month. We're in talks with the likes of like Vodacom and Telkom and various other ISPs as well. The beauty of an open access network is it's a very competitive environment. So we've created this environment so that end users ultimately benefit from it, from a price point of view, from a customer service point of view. And as I mentioned, we're always on the look to onboard local internet service providers and wireless providers. So yeah, we just love having an open access network where freedom of choice is there.
So if somebody's in Rustenburg right now and they've got a small little internet service provider, give you a call, say, Hazard, we want to hop on your network.
No, definitely. And obviously we'll take them through all the different formalities that need to happen, but we are super passionate about supporting local businesses, and we love uplifting wireless providers that are already servicing customers within Rustenburg.
Okay, a lot to unpack there, and I think we'll get into that later on, but I do want to know the whole reason we're doing this is fiber. what is the difference between fiber from what we're used to beforehand and the I don't know, internet spectrum that we feel on the internet with my phone? How does fiber make my life and obviously the people in Rustenburg's life better?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it is the fastest form of internet available, not only in South Africa, but worldwide. Again, it transmits data through a glass tube, utilizing light, and that gives you that stable, uncompromised network. It's not the same as your ADSL copper cables, and as you know, copper is a very sought after material, so it gets stolen quite often. Whereas fiber doesn't have that street value, so the risk of it actually being stolen is minimal. Again, it's able to deliver speeds of up to 1 gigabits per second, which again is the fastest line speed you could get. And then we can utilize that fiber infrastructure, for many cool things, in the future, such as camera nodes, connecting schools with fiber, all those type of things as well.
Okay, we're going to get into all of that later on. So fiber is the future,
Correct.
right? Okay, fiber is going to change the way somebody uses the internet.
No, definitely, and it's already changing. How many people utilize the internet. From working from home and tutoring from home. All these type of things were never possible because of your internet connection, and now we're bringing that to Rustenburg, so the possibilities are endless now with fiber.
And we're doing this. I mean, who would have
Correct.
thought that a virtual town hall
Exactly.
would be doing this? I mean, 2 years ago you weren't. It's changed the world that we're living in already. That's why we had the masks on. Okay, so I want fiber. You're in Rustenburg. How does the process work? How do I get that fiber to my house?
So essentially, we start any build with a feasibility study, is what we call it. So we conduct an expression of interest survey within the suburb, which we've already started last year already. And essentially, we utilize that data just to keep residents of the community up to date in terms of the build and assist them if there are any queries, etc., or questions that they have. We then host an evening like this. Although it's on a virtual platform, we host a virtual town hall where we get to interact with the community yet again. We're very passionate about that community engagement, that transparency between us as a business and our customers. We then start getting site ready in terms of barricading and opening of pilot holes to identify services. We obviously try and do as many precautionary measures, we'll put as many precautionary measures in place before we start with the civil work to ensure we don't negatively disrupt the community when the rollout starts. Once we're comfortable and everything has been put in place, we start trenching, and you'll start seeing contractors on site opening up trenches along both sides of the sidewalk. We lay the ducts, we backfill, we compact everything, we float fiber through, we do reinstatements. That's all part of the civil work. Once we've completed that, we interact with the community again and councillors and municipality to ensure that we have reinstated Rustenburg back to its original former glory. Once everyone is happy, the fun bit starts. We actually start scheduling people and start getting them installed and connected.
Okay, a lot that you just said there.
Yeah.
Let's start. Okay, so the virtual town hall, that's why we're here. We're here to explain exactly how this process works. And I think this is going to be the big worry, is what is my neighborhood going to look like? So let's talk about that. When you say trenching, what does that look like, and how is that going to affect the verge in front of my house?
So the first thing we would obviously do after putting up the barricading is we would open a 300 mil by 450 deep trench, so ruler length essentially.
Right.
We would neatly put the soil next to the trench, obviously barricaded so no one falls within that trench. We'd normally open the trench up until your driveway. We won't touch your driveway yet, just so that you have that access in and out of your property. Most cases we'll actually mow under the driveway. We won't always open the driveway if we don't have to. In certain circumstances, if there are utilities that run underneath your driveway, we would have to possibly do that, just so that we don't damage any power cable or water pipe and then leave you with without those services. And then we basically start reinstating, but it's not a very big trench. We do try and only trench on the one side before we move on to the other side of the sidewalk, but it's all dependent on the rollout and how many labourer or contractors we have on site. Certain contractors will be building on certain blocks, but obviously we would have to trench on both sides of the sidewalk.
Okay, so you might do my side first and then you do the neighbours on the other side.
Correct.
When all of this is done.
Correct.
Okay, and you mentioned all of that is done before you switch it all on. Is that correct? So you finish that as an area before you switch that on?
No, definitely. So we obviously have to do all the civil work, all the fiber work, float all the fibers through the ducts that we've laid underground up until the point of presence or POP, which is at Laerskool Protea Park and Hoërskool Bergsig. Those are where our 2 POP containers are, specifically in Rustenburg. And only once we've done fiber testing and there's light going through all the fibers and we're comfortable in signing off the network so that when we start installing people, we don't have downtime and people can actually enjoy the experience and not constantly have that up and down of the network. So we try and make sure that all the civil work is completed, obviously as quickly as possible. But we do take the fiber work very serious because at the end of the day, we want to deliver a stable and uncompromised network.
How long from when you start
Yeah.
to when I will be able to watch the Netflix?
So John, we have, like I said, numerous contractors that will be involved in the project. A lot of local work, local contractors involved as well, and most contractors, are able to deliver anything between 1,000 to 2,000 live homes per month. It's all dependent on how smooth the build goes. Again, we don't really know until we actually start opening up trenches. What type of terrain we're dealing with. But usually a project this size can take anything between 8 to 16 weeks to complete.
For the whole of Rustenburg?
Majority of it. Majority of it.
Okay. So the central bit of Rustenburg.
Correct.
Okay. We want to plenty questions coming through on the time frame for individual suburbs.
Yeah.
Where are you starting in Rustenburg, and then where do you expect to go?
So again, we work very closely, with the relevant municipality and ward council representatives to ensure that we don't, cause too much of an inconvenience when this rollout starts. We won't be building in all the suburbs at once. We predominantly will be starting in Protea Park and Safari Tainer. Those are the first 2 areas that we'll be trenching in, and then we'll move on to your other areas like Hillhout Park, Bosdal, Waterfall East, Rustenburg SP, Klabani West, all those places. But it's done in phases, and it's done in phases just to also not inconvenience residents. Can you imagine having 1,000 contractors at the same time opening up trenches on either side? It would disrupt the community in a negative way.
Okay, so again, because these are the questions that are coming through, Radley, is so neighborhood A will take 8 to 16 weeks, as you said. Neighborhood B, will I have to wait for those 18 weeks to finish before you do neighborhood B?
So it's also all dependent on how well the project is rolling out. Again, the municipality does watch it closely because they've got to look after their municipal ground and the infrastructure. So they do monitor it quite closely. But it's all dependent on how smooth the first 2 areas go. There might be cases where we are able to start in other areas sooner, but the goal is to complete Protea Park, Safari Tainer as quickly as possible so that we can continue moving into the other areas. But again, it's all dependent on how smooth the rollout goes and how happy we keep the municipality and the ward council.
Okay. Now, when you're trenching, there are water pipes and electric pipes and all those kind of things that you're going to be working around, I imagine. As you said in that beginning, you know where they are, but not always. So that's always the worry, is that you guys are trenching and you cut a pipe, water pipe, and there's water all over. I won't have water for days or weeks. What is the process for that?
So obviously, us as Evotel and the contractors and the municipality and the relevant councils try and put as many precaution measures in place to ensure that that is minimized. We scan all roads and sidewalks, etc., to identify where those utilities run.
You scan them?
Correct. There's an actual piece of equipment that actually is almost like a sonar. It can pick up utilities and stuff like that. And you'll see, contractors will start making spray painting marks on roads, identifying where those utilities run. The way leave documentation from the municipality will also identify where those services are. Again, they're not always 100% accurate. They are pretty close. So we do open pilot holes just as another precautionary measure to identify them. But we do try our best not to damage utilities. But if we do, we do have the support of the municipality to ensure that if it is something that needs to be repaired by them, that it's done in as quickly as possible. And if it's something that we can fix on site and the contractor is able to fix on site, they will gladly do it, but we will never leave a resident without water or electricity for more than a day, if that much.
And I guess that's one of the reasons you don't want to do the whole of Rustenburg all at the same time, because if you're just digging all over, the chances of hitting a pipe or having, if you're having one problem, you might have 100 problems. Definitely. So rather just do a little area at a time. If you have a problem, you can fix it straight away.
No, definitely. We want to be, we want to approach it as structured as possible so that, again, it just causes as little disruption as possible.
Okay, so now you've dug the trenches, you've laid what you said, ducting, and you've put the fibers in.
Yeah.
Do you put it all back together the way it was?
No, 100%. So, before we sign off an area, we would engage with the community again to ensure that that has happened. We do take before and after photos. The contractors are obligated to do that so that when we do reinstate, your sidewalk and your paving and your flower bed and all those type of things, that we've taken the time to actually reinstate it back to its original condition, if not better. And if we haven't done so, we encourage residents to please reach out to us so that we can come back and rectify those issues for you. And even when we're gone, we do offer a guarantee that, should your sidewalk sag or your driveway sag, we'll make sure that a contractor gets out there to come and meet with you and actually rectify the issue.
Okay, so I've been around neighborhoods and there's that little dip where they'd dug under the driveway and there's a little dip. You're saying don't accept the dip?
No, definitely don't accept the dip. We wouldn't accept it as a company, and we don't expect residents to accept it either. So if you do have that, even long after we're not there, please, by all means, get hold of us and we'll sort it out for you. Okay,
as part of the rollout, Rustenburg is quite it's a rural area and it's quite widespread. It's obviously there's the central bit, but then it goes out. What sort of timeline are you looking for to maybe get a little bit further out of the center?
Again, with any build, we try and build, in the heart of that city or that suburb, before we start expanding outwards. But we are working on something very cool at the moment. Again, I can't go into much detail, but as our slogan says, fibre for everyone. The goal is to not just build the predominant areas in Rustenburg, but to also start reaching out to those outskirt areas within Rustenburg. We're super excited to start that project, and the community of Rustenburg will be the first to hear about it as soon as it's ready to go.
I want to go back to the ISPs. So you guys are laying a cable, and then what happens? It terminates at my house. What does that look like?
So essentially we provision...
Sorry, I said cable. You're laying a fiber optical...
It is a cable.
Is it a cable?
No, 100%. Right. No, you're right. So essentially we provision fiber for every single home, hence why we build on either side of the road, on both sidewalks. And again, we terminate those fiber strands at every single home, and we terminate it into what we call a wall box. So every single home will have a wall box mounted on their boundary wall. Again, if we've damaged the wall, we'll make sure that we fix it as part of the reinstatement process. But we install that box on the wall, and then when you're ready to take up the service, which I hope is very soon, we come out, we run this fiber strand from that wall box into your house, and we terminate it into what we call an ONT, or customer premise equipment. And then your ISP delivers your router, and your router plugs into that. Okay,
so the internet, my contact, if I want to access the internet, is one of those service providers that you mentioned, right?
So the analogy that I always use is, we provide the highway. Your service provider that you go with, out of the 23 that we have, would provide you with the vehicle, so the type of vehicle that you want, as well as the speed that vehicle can go. So, your first point of contact should always be one of the service providers that we have. They're very friendly, they'll happily help you. But again, we also have various other platforms where you can sign up. We'll have friendly resellers in your area to help you sign up from a door-to-door point of view. You can call into Evotel directly and we'll gladly assist you as well. So there's various platforms as to where you can sign up, but your ISPs are probably the best place to go, because you can also get a feel for what type of customer service, etc. they're going to deliver once you're up and running.
The joy of that and all of those service providers, I guess they're going to be competing for my business, right? So they're going to say, well, if I can go to company A or service provider A for 200 Rand or $500, I can go to the U for 489. So I'm going to go, and they'll start competing with each other, which is lovely.
And again, that's the beauty of that open access network. That competitive environment between all the different service providers, and that list is only going to grow. So it's going to become even more competitive. But all the contracts that we have, or most of the contracts that we have with the service providers, they're month-to-month contracts. And that's scary for the different service providers, because they know at any given time, if they don't deliver the service that you as a customer are paying, there's 22 other service providers waiting to gladly help you. So it does ultimately benefit the end user, which is great, and it's something that we really push, that high service level.
It's all very well having a great service provider. What's your uptime? That's a question. How do I know that I'm not going to have power failures or all those horrible things happen to my fiber?
So currently our uptime is 99.96%. It's something that we take very serious. We've got 23 service providers to look after, and they've got thousands of clients to look after. So we really take it serious. We've got to make sure that the network is built in such a way that it's stable for many years to come. So we really take our time in terms of the design of the network and how we roll it out. Again, it is underground, so the chances of things happening are very minimal. But when things do happen, we stick to a 72-hour turnaround time. Obviously, we would like to get residents up and running a lot sooner, but within 72 hours, we would have that fault fixed, all depending on what that fault is possibly. And then in terms of load shedding, it's something that happens quite regularly throughout South Africa. Our POP containers that essentially are the heart of our network, where all the fibre strands from the suburbs run to and then to a data centre. Those POPs have what we call like backup battery packs that can power that POP to up to 8 hours. So if you have a generator at home and you can power your ONT device and you can power your Wi-Fi router, you'll still have internet, which is an added benefit as well.
I want to give you a little bit of time to brag in a minute. Don't forget, if you have any questions for Bradley, this is the time to do it. Get it out in the comments. We're seeing plenty coming through. Who we got here? Bradley Young. We've got another Bradley. Bradley Young from Rustenburg sent a question. Geraldine, we see that question. Send those questions below on the comments. Both on Facebook and YouTube, they're available right now. So get those questions in if you have anything. We've touched on the trenching. We've touched on getting that fiber to the home. I want you to brag a little bit now, if you don't mind. How much has Evotel done before? Obviously, you're going into other areas as well. And I want to know about the school initiative. It sort of was on one of the slides. So let's start with the bragging about how much you've done so far.
So over the last 2 years, we've really grown substantially, and this has resulted in us passing approximately 5,000 homes per month, and that's going to grow as we go along, and that's resulted in us actually getting 50,000 homes live and connected to fibre. And the goal is, within the next year to build anything between 80 to 100,000 homes, and exciting to start with Rustenburg. It's been a long journey, but we're here finally. And then, as you mentioned, the school initiative, it's something that we're super passionate about. We want to give back to communities, and this is the best way to do that. These are our future leaders. We have to provide them with the right tools to be able to learn in a stable environment, and also open other possibilities of learning for them as well. So every school that falls within our rollout, we'll gladly sign up and get connected. We have already signed up a few schools in Rustenburg, so we're really excited to actually finally get them connected as well now. And just it's an initiative that we take very serious. But on top of schools, we also connect charities. So if there are charities within Rustenburg, that are longing for good fibre connection that will allow them to, maybe run that charity a little bit better, please reach out to us. We would gladly provide them with a fibre connection as well.
Again, I'm just thinking about how the world is going to change, because you're giving schools free internet, you're giving charities free internet, and we're sitting here doing a live stream to you, but now schools can do that a little bit more, and obviously the teachers are doing teaching from home, kids are learning from home. Charities can now do live stream, online auctions. Everything just changes if you've got good, stable internet.
No, definitely. And I mean, the world has evolved, and the way of doing things has evolved. People are able to do so much more in the comfort of their home. Kids are able to learn in the comfort of their home. We have to be safe during this time that we're going through. And again, it all boiled down to, your internet connection. And finally, we're bringing that internet connection to a lot of places in South Africa, and starting with Rustenburg. So we're just super excited for people to utilize this internet and, unlock other possibilities and start little businesses from home. There's so many things that you can do with that internet, and it's really exciting.
You touched on this business in a box a little bit earlier. Explain that to me.
So essentially, when we go into any area or any build, our main commitment is to uplift as many local businesses as possible. This ranges from marketing firms, agencies, newspapers, flyer places, all those type of things. But we've started a project where we want to enable residents within a community to also possibly start their own little businesses. And essentially we kit them out. They feel and look like an Evotel employee, because they are. And they can go around in their suburbs and assist their fellow community members in signing up and earn commission from that, and you can build a business from that. You can start your own little sales team. Again, it's a super exciting initiative that we're looking to roll out in Rustenburg. So again, if you're keen to join that initiative, please reach out to us, and we'll get the ball rolling with you.
All about local. You mentioned on the bottom of that last slide that you use local contractors as well.
Correct. Again, this is something that we work very closely with the municipality and the relevant ward councils, is to ensure that, everyone within the community is benefiting, from this fibre rollout, not just from a connection point of view or internet point of view, but, also from a business point of view as well. So, we are committed to giving anything between 30 to 50%, of our work to local labour. And the goal is to uplift those local businesses. So one day when we're not there anymore, they can continue with these types of projects in other areas. They can continue selling on our network. So we're just trying to upskill them so that they can continue growing as a business.
Okay, let's get into some questions. Don't forget, if you have any questions for Bradley, comments down below. No matter where they are, Facebook or YouTube, please leave those comments and we'll get to them as soon as possible. I do see that the fairies behind the scenes are making sure that some of those answers and communications, if we can't answer it, we will get back to you. I see some of that's been done. There are some answers being done online as well that we can't necessarily cover here, but please leave any questions below. Trenching, we've told you how long it's going to take. Let's talk, before we get into these questions, what about the prices? How much does it cost to get the internet these days?
So obviously you've got 23 service providers to choose from. Those 23 service providers offer different value-added services and package pricing and all that type of stuff, but you're looking at anything between 469 Rand a month up until 1,899 Rand a month. Sure. That starts with your 5 megabits per second line up until your 1 gigabits per second line. It's completely up to you. It's a very personalized type of service. You choose the right line speed and the right price for you and your family. But a lot of the ISPs that we have on our network also offer free installation, which is also great. There's no cost of having to pay for that installation, and they provide you with a router as well. So I would really advise the residents of Rustenburg to start contacting these ISPs if you haven't already, just to get a feel, like I said, for the customer service, what type of products they offer, what separates them from the other 22 guys. It's always good to do that. But we've got some great ISPs that offer some great packages on our network.
I didn't even ask that. Who pays for the installation of these fibres and all the trenching and all the contracts? Where does all that money come from?
So Evotel is a privately owned business. We fund our own projects. It doesn't cost a resident a single cent. No, not at all. Right. So we lay the infrastructure at our cost. And the only cost that resident would ever occur is if they take up the service, that monthly fee or that installation fee, depending on the service provider that you choose. But at no point in time will any resident be obligated to pay for us to lay the fibre outside of their house and terminate it, at their wall box. And the beauty of that is, if you don't take up the service, it still increases your property value. So, one day when you're possibly selling your house, or if someone's looking for a house in Rustenburg, the first thing people nowadays check is my area fibre covered? So there's so many benefits to that, but you wouldn't pay a single cent to have that infrastructure laid.
Okay, so if somebody comes to you and says it's going to cost you 100 Rand to get that termination box to your wall, you go, and you phone Evotel.
Please phone us. There's something fishy is happening there.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so that wall, and then you were saying the service providers will probably do that whole installation and give you a modem depending on the service provider and whatever. They might even do that for free.
No, correct. So obviously the infrastructure belongs to us. So once the service provider has pushed the order through and we can go and install, one of our friendly ladies will contact the resident, schedule your installation date and time. We come to site, we actually meet with you, we give you 3 different types of options in terms of how we can install into your house. Like I said, we run that fibre strand into your home, and then the ISP delivers the Wi-Fi router and they set it up for you. Make sure your fibre coverage within your house is good. But a lot of the service providers will cover that cost.
Okay, let's run through a couple of questions. Time frame we've done. What will happen to the homes that were connected with the aerial fibre the first time?
So one of the
So let's just get a bit of background there. What's been happening in Rustenburg?
So obviously last year we started the fibre project, but it was an aerial deployment.
Mm-hmm.
We've built numerous aerial networks as well as trench networks, and that was one of the deployment methods that we were wanting to roll out in Rustenburg. The project was halted, and we then went back to the drawing board, and we drew up trenched plans and worked very tightly with the municipality to ensure that it was the best network that we could give to Rustenburg. So, part of the rollout plan or the project plan is to us remove those poles that are already in your suburb. There's no need for them anymore. So as the guys are trenching, they will be removing poles, and the removement of those poles will start as early as next week.
Okay, so if somebody's currently connected, what's going to happen?
So currently no one is connected, but if they are, we will just terminate that fibre. It will stay within their home, and then once we've built past, we'll then just terminate back into the wall box.
Okay, so the wall box is there, and you'll just connect it under the ground as opposed to...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll just be terminated in a different way.
Concerns about the rollout being stopped again are being voiced.
And again, I think this is probably why the journey has taken a little bit longer, is we want to ensure that we have checked all the boxes with the relevant municipality members, the ward councils, etc. Again, we'll only really know what happens once we start, but we have had the support from the municipality, which is great. They've helped us with a lot of things. So the likelihood of it stopping is minimal, but again, we won't know until we start. But everything has been done, that we needed to do, and we're just excited to actually start and physically start trenching.
You mentioned it in question. Will you be removing the unsightly poles?
We will. We guarantee that we'll be removing all those poles. During the construction process, we just ask that everyone be patient. We will get to those poles and we will remove them. It is a requirement from the municipality that we do remove them. Again, there's no use for them, so we won't just leave them there. Mm-hmm. And if we do miss a pole, please reach out to us so that we can ensure that the contractor removes it and reinstates that section that they planted the pole back to its original condition.
Really long question. All right,
okay.
From Tinnis. He says, with our last presentation that turned into a circus show, we all came to the same conclusion. Protocols was a big issue, turned into, he said, she said, vibe and attitude. In this time frame, did you resolve all the matters and issues that the community raised?
Well, we would like to hope that we did. Again, I think the main issue was just the processes and procedures that needed to be followed with the municipality, and then obviously the community engagement. Again, we have tried to stick to the municipality's guidelines and the ward council's guidelines as closely as possible. But if we have missed anything, we're always open to engaging with residents that feel that we have missed something. But I can rest assure you, we have made sure that we've ticked all the right boxes in order for us to start and not, have another Rustenburg rollout like last year.
Okay. What happens if the fibre is stolen?
Again, so that network belongs to Evotel. It's our responsibility to maintain it and upkeep it. So, if something does get stolen, which will probably only happen once because the guy will go and try and sell it and you won't get much for it, but we will then come out and actually, refloat fibers. But we do have, our other links that we can utilize to keep people up and running while we do that repair. We provision enough fiber, as a failover as well.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that the whole suburb will be down, for weeks while we try and replace that fiber. But obviously, it being underground, it makes it a little bit harder for them to do. So we shouldn't have much of that in Rustenburg.
And as you say, nobody wants to sell, nobody buys fibre, right?
No.
It's not like copper that costs some money.
No, it's got absolutely no street value.
Okay. Are you going to cut down trees? Because now you're trenching. It was great to have the aerial routes as you're going round trees and things. Are you going to have to cut down trees that are in the pathway now?
No, and the same when we deployed an aerial network or attempted to deploy an aerial network. With trenching, there's no reason for us to touch any tree. Obviously there will be circumstances where we possibly have to reroute around a tree, trench closer to the curb or behind the tree. It's all dependent on obviously the circumstance. But at no point in time will we ever cut a tree or cut a root or anything like that. If we do something like that, the municipality will hold us accountable, and we know residents will hold us accountable as well, and we'll definitely take the contractor, responsible for that to task. So at no point in time will we touch a single tree.
Okay, let's talk about speeds. ADSL and especially the network or the self-service providers. If a whole lot of people connect, it slows down. What happens with your network?
So again, with a fiber network or an Evotel fiber network, it's a point-to-point solution, meaning every single home that we provision a strand of fiber for. So at no given time will you be sharing, that fiber strand with anyone else, whereas, your ADSL and your wireless networks are usually a shared network. So at no point in time will you ever struggle with that. You can connect as many devices in your home as you would like. Obviously, it will slow your speed slightly if one person's using more bandwidth than the other, but there's very smart ways of getting around that.
Buy more bandwidth.
Yeah, all that, true. Upgrade your line speed. You have the flexibility of doing that, which is great. But there won't be any issues with line speed. If you're paying for 20 meg download and 20 meg upload, you will receive very close to that, if not more.
Again, we had this question a couple of times. What's the ratio? I think it is. I'm not technically advanced. So what is the one-to-one connection ratio?
So a point-to-point solution would be a one-to-one ratio. Essentially, every strand of fiber that gets installed runs to our points of presence, and then obviously into the backhaul link that runs to the various data centers. So it is a one-to-one ratio.
Okay. Again, you guys, the highway, you're connecting, I imagine, from that, what do you call it, a POP?
Correct.
You're connecting from there onto the backbone of the internet.
Correct. So obviously we have numerous upstream providers that would provide that service to us. These services run straight to the data centers throughout Johannesburg, so the various Terraco data centers. And essentially that's where the heart of our network runs to. So to the POP and then straight into the data centers.
Have you got proper buy-in from the municipality? I think that's part of the questions at the moment.
No, definitely we do. If we didn't have proper buy-in, they wouldn't have issued way leaves for us to actually go and start construction. So all of that has been covered. All the necessary processes and procedures have been put in place to ensure that those things are up and running and we don't get stopped once the build starts.
Okay. One of the big questions, or in fact, that I just thought of now, and I think Neil is related to that. He asked if he can keep his pole. So, but we'll get into that. If I've got my house, people are playing around in the background of the studio here. So if I've got my home, and I want you to trench, I don't know, this a little bit this way or a little bit that way, or I want you to go through the back or the front. Do you have that option, or do you have rules and regulations?
No, again, obviously we need to build the network, that it's stable, and as soon as we start making alterations to the network, it affects the integrity of the network as well. So, we do try and accommodate, where we can. If it is something that we can change and we can reroute a trench, slightly, we will do so. But in most cases, we try and stick to, the layout of the network. It's planned in such a way for a reason. And that is to ensure that the network is built to a point, that in future you don't have any issues with downtime and all those type of things.
Obviously, you're on municipal land.
Correct.
Right. Okay, so you got to follow what the municipality and wear those guidelines.
100%. So obviously, we've also got to be strict in terms of where we trench. When the project's over and done with, the municipality needs to know where our infrastructure runs, so that there's no future damages when other service providers come in. So it's very important that we stick to those plans as closely as possible, because it's plans that we've already submitted to the municipality.
Do you do fibre to business?
No, not at all. We do strictly fibre to the home. Obviously, things have changed nowadays. Most people work from home now. So essentially, it is in a way fibre to the business, but it's predominantly just fibre to the home packages.
Everybody's working from home these days. That's the way it works. Bradley would like to know which areas follow Protea Park and Safari Gardens, please.
It's very difficult to give that, but the likes of Kashan, Bostal, Gellerode Park, Labani West, Rustenburg, SP, again, it's all dependent on where the municipality allows us to go. Again, we want to work very closely with the municipality. It is municipal grounds. We want to ensure that we don't disrupt them and cause havoc. But again, as we get closer to the next areas, we will definitely communicate it to everyone, on social media, on different social media platforms, emails, phone calls, all those type of things.
All right, let's get there. There it is there, info@Evotel, and there's the website, evotel.co.za. You can get all those questions, answers there, I'm sure. You'll update information there all the time.
Definitely.
Okay. Obviously, somebody's joined a little bit later on. When are you planning on starting all of this?
So the plan is to already start kick-off meetings with contractors and service providers next week. We'll start barricading, we'll start removing poles, all those type of things. So construction will be starting, hopefully next week sometime.
Sure.
But it's also all dependent on how ready we are from a municipality point of view.
Okay, so next week, what was the time frame you said from when you start digging the holes to I'll be able to watch the Netflix?
Anything between 8 to 16 weeks. Obviously, we do strive to try and be, done as quickly as possible. Again, we want to be in and out of Rustenburg as quickly as possible so that we cause as minimal disruption as possible. But anything between 8 to 16 weeks to be safe.
I just want to understand a little bit more about the trenching and the replacing and making sure that my grass and my driveway is thing, because it is repaired. Because obviously, if you're digging a trench, if you can't go under the driveway, you're digging a trench. Will I be able to get in and out? How does that system work?
So usually the reason why we try and open, the sidewalks if we have to, towards the end is so that we don't have that issue. But if we open up your driveway, We will try and backfill it the same day, just so that you can drive in and out. If you've gone to work possibly and you come home and the trench is still open, the contractors are obligated to have what we call driving grids on site. Please then just reach out to us if you are having those issues, or if a contractor is not open to helping you, and they lay that grid over the trench so that you can drive in and out at no inconvenience to you.
So put that number into your phone now, that 086 number. What's it? 0860 386 835. Program that into your phone now, so that you can make sure that the contractors, I guess all of that, phone you if there's a problem, any kind of problem, get onto those phones.
No, definitely.
Are you willing to take responsibility?
We'll take responsibility. We're as transparent as we need to be. So if you are having any issues and you're not getting joy from anyone, please contact us and we'll gladly assist.
Evotel has already installed cables and boxes in the houses in Elephant's View. I don't know how specifically you know that. When will that go live?
So Elephant's View specifically is a complex. I think it falls in Waterfall East. This was one of the complexes that we built, before we actually got stopped. But it's the main thing is just us now building outside of the complex, so the core network. So as soon as that's been done, that's when we can actually start lighting up that complex specifically. Obviously, all the groundwork within the complex has already been completed, so it's a pretty simple procedure. We just have to connect it to the core network on the outside. But it's just all depending on how soon we get to Waterfall East.
And I guess there's a whole lot involved when you're digging, because it could be soft sand, there could be rocks in the way. So again, that's why you're giving that wide time frame. It just depends on what's in the way.
No, definitely, and I think one of the beauties of us is we are very agile, and we've worked closely with the municipality to also come up with different solutions. So if we do encounter a certain sidewalk that has a lot of rock, for instance, it's very difficult to get through, we have equipment that's able to micro trench. And what micro trenching is it just cuts a small little trench on the road next to the curb. And we then obviously backfill it with the correct slurry and then tar on top of that. But it's all dependent on the rollout. So there will be instances where we don't actually trench on the sidewalk, but we possibly cut a little trench in the actual road.
I've seen those in Joburg. They're about that thin.
Correct. It's a thin little trench.
Little trench that the cable can run in.
Correct, and it's a machine that cuts that trench.
Okay, I think that's about it as far as questions go. We've been talking for 43 minutes. Yeah, it's amazing. I just want to make sure that we've got all the things. Is there anything that you want to add into that? The environment is very important. Making sure that those beds and my grass and any paving is put back, that's important. And that it looks like it was today.
Correct.
So if it doesn't, give you a call, make sure everything's
Please, yeah. I mean, one of the things that we take very serious is ensuring that, we reinstate your suburb back to its original condition. And if we're not doing that, please hold us accountable, and we'll ensure that everything gets rectified quickly.
Uptime, I'm going to make sure that's all right. Phone the service providers, give the service providers a bit of help as well.
No, definitely.
Make sure that they're getting the right thing.
No, correct. Again, it's always good to do your homework before you sign up for anything. So yeah, test the service providers out. Give them a call and see what type of customer service they would give you. That's going to give you a good indication of what you can expect.
Yes.
Again, the 23 service providers we have are all awesome. So I'm sure you'll have a great experience with them. But yeah, please definitely test us on a lot of these things that we've discussed tonight.
Okay, you've got the contacts down below. Send the emails, do the phone calls, and check out the website. I know that Evotel has got some great plans about communicating with you and making sure that you're up to speed with how everything is working. Do take advantage. Make sure that they're doing their job. It's why they're in business, I guess, is to make sure, so they don't really want to break it too much. Don't forget, this video will remain up on Facebook and YouTube as well. So share it with your friends, share it with your neighborhood, share it in your community WhatsApp group, share it on your community Facebook as well. I see that there's some lekker Facebook groups that are happening in Rustenburg as well. Share it with everybody so that they can get the information and they can ask questions. The fairies behind the scenes will be answering any comments that do come up over the next couple of weeks or so, and while the build is on as well. So do make sure that everybody is communicated with and they got the information. Bradley, thank you very much for answering all the questions.
Thanks, John.
Hopefully it goes well and all those trenches get built and get put back the way they should be.
No, yeah, we're super excited to get started and just getting Rustenburg connected. So looking forward to the journey.
Send the comments in down below and make sure that everybody's up to speed. Make sure everybody's happy. I'm John Carricker. Have yourself a great weekend. Look after yourselves. Remember, curfew at 11 o'clock, hey? We'll see you again next time.